And so game week 28 is upon us, and with only 11 game weeks to go, every decision takes on maximum importance. And for my lords, the stakes could not be any higher, because in the space of the last 2 game weeks, we have plummeted 13,000 places from the top 10k. Not only that, but my closest mini-league rival has slashed the gap considerably, and he has 3 transfers to my 1, and it's gonna take every bit of nous and cunning I possess to turn this slump around. And I'll tell you how I'm going to do that in just a few minutes, but first we need to understand just what has gone wrong since our last installment. And if you want a short answer, I'll give it to you now. Over the last 6 game weeks, I've lost my balls.
It's a strange fate that we should suffer so much fear and doubt over so small a thing.
You see, my current issues go all the way back to game week 22, when I made that triple transfer swoop for Chris Wood, Matt Diallo and Matt Sells. Selling Wissa for Wood, that was a sensible move, and it's one that has paid off well. The other 2 though, they were pure panic. Young Ahmad, well, he just scored a hat-trick, so you could say it was sensible given his price. But it was a wasted transfer, one made out of fear of my rivals having him rather than what he could bring to my team. And so it proved, with him barely featuring in my 11 before his injury. And it was the same with Sells. I knew I should have went Pickford with that double game week in mind, yet fear of my rivals having Forest defenders made me waste a transfer on signing Sells for 2 game weeks. 2 game weeks in which he scored just 2 points in total. Oh, why are you talking about game week 22? Don't you know FPL content has to be relevant and focused only on the coming game week? It's no wonder you can't break 500 views for your videos going back all this way. I'm talking about those transfers because they are the transfers that triggered the psychological shift in my approach. And yes, 2 game weeks after making them, I was in the top 10k, and yeah, I stayed there for 2 game weeks, but that was where it all started going wrong. For one, if I'd gone straight to Pickford like I knew I should, I would have been 5 points better off with an extra transfer in the bank. If I hadn't panic bought Ahmad, my starting 11 would have been exactly what it was anyway, with another extra transfer in the bank. And now my closest rival has a 2 transfer advantage, and game week 22 is directly where that can be traced back to. But that's not all, no. Then came the assistant manager trip, and in a rare moment of courage over this last 2 months, I made the big balls call to go with Divine Davy Moyes. In 10 years time, we'll still look back fondly on the time Tarkowski lashed home a 98th minute volley, one that sent FPL managers around the globe into raptures. It was one of the greatest moments in FPL history, one those who experienced it will always remember.
This is football heritage.
And then it was time for game week 25, and I knew Marco Silva was the man. I knew it in my bones. I even staked my reputation on it. And then the game week after, I told you Glasner was the man, and I was the only FPL YouTuber to hail the merits of Vitor Pereira. I told you that either of those would get the big points. 37 extra points in the bank, 59 assistant manager points in total. The controversial new trip was absolutely nailed, leaving nobody in any doubt as to its potential and its season-turning power. I gave you all the secrets, and those of you out there who listen like my man Christian Stroman here, you all reap the rewards. And yet my team, we did not, because I completely completely bottled it. I went with Emery and I ended up with 15 points fewer than I would have had if only I'd had the courage of my convictions. Yes, instead of making those big balls calls, I'd reacted to the fiery heat of the pressure cooker by diving into the icy water, leaving me making nothing but those contracted cojones choices.
You're shrinking. And your two little balls are shrinking with you.
Will you get to the point already? This is FPL YouTube. We don't have time for storytelling. Just tell us how to make our teams better, then get off my screen. Well, if all you want is Game Week 28 advice, then just roll your transfer ahead of the blank unless you're on a free hit, in which case sign a Palace lad. Come on now, this isn't a hard game week to prepare for. This game isn't always complex, it's just sometimes when the pressure's getting to you, the seed of doubt gets planted in your mind, and then you make one mistake and it starts to grow, and then you make another and the leaves start sprouting, and then you lose your heart and that blossoming tree of doubt, it puts down roots, and before you know it there's a sycamore gap between the player you've always tried to be and the felled stump of the man you've become. And then when it comes to the big captaincy choice, you see all the algorithm acolytes flocking to an out of form player in a bang average team, and instead of being the young content creator who steals all the honey from the hive mind, instead you find out you've become the knackered old bit of timber floating out on the sea. You're swept away with the tide and you find yourself cast adrift 13,000 places further back and 20 points off the top 10k. The same 20 points lost through those choices of fear over the preceding 5 game weeks. You see, to truly understand this game you have to understand how it's all connected. It's never about just one game week. My desolation with my end result of game week 27, it's not born from a captaincy choice that ultimately yielded just 3 fewer points. It's because for 6 game weeks now I've been playing this game out of fear. I've been trying to protect and preserve, and what's happened instead is that everything I've worked so hard for, well, it's starting to slip away. And that Parma captaincy may not be the end of the world, but it simply has to be the end of the cowardice, because FPL isn't like football, not really. It's more like the darts, and you simply can't defend what you already have. You have to step up to the hockey and hit that match-winning double. And for 6 game weeks I've been playing this blasted game with dartitis, scared to let go of my arrows in case it all goes wrong. And those lost 3 points of that Parma captaincy have to be the wake-up call. They simply have to be, because the Appleby assassin is hunting me down. He outscored me by 19 points last week. He did me by 17 points the game week before. He's got 2 extra transfers to make and he still has his triple captain to play. And what's more, given the makeup of our teams is so similar, with 9 shared players in our squads plus both of us owning Bournemouth defenders, those extra transfers in the last 2 game weeks mean the momentum is firmly in his favour. But I have one crucial advantage. I've won the world's greatest mini-league before, whereas the Appleby assassin is yet to finish inside the top million since joining the League of Gentlemen. Furthermore, when I last sat upon our throne, I led for most of the season before dropping to 2nd place in game week 29. We are 2 rounds away from that fateful game week and I still hold a 52 point advantage. And yes, the assassin has those 2 extra transfers, but I could take 2 hits and still be 44 points clear. He may have the momentum, but the balance of power for now at least remains in my favour. And I also still have my bench boost to play, and that could prove absolutely critical.
I think I have the upper hand. Then again, perhaps not.
But you see, this is where it all gets tricky, because I'm not just trying to win the world's greatest mini-league. I'm trying to establish some credibility in the content creation field, and for that I need to finish as high as possible in those overall rankings. And I'm not gonna try and spin you a yarn. These last few game weeks have been an absolute disaster. FPL Focal has overtaken me by 9 points. FPL Harry has clawed me back and is now 16 points ahead. The main man Praz has left me for dust, and I'm now 33 points and 15,000 places behind him. Just 2 game weeks ago, none of them could touch me, but they are playing with confidence while I've been stricken by fear. They've been here before. They're established in the field. They know how this one goes. Whereas me, I have just 1 top 10k finish to my name, and I have placed some extraordinary pressure on myself, and now I'm floundering, acting like the fish out of water so many believe me to be. And now my problems are mounting up. Evan Nilsson is back among the goals, meaning Dango's no longer secure. Will Newcastle really play Isak in the league right before the cup final? If not, then that's another man down next week. Lewis Hall's hobbling along even more than my FPL team, and he is out for the season. And I'm probably just going to have to eat all his price drops, which is far from ideal when the wild card is just around the corner. I've got Wood against City, and for all their issues, that is not optimal. Cody Gakpo may well be benched again. Even Gabriel is no solace, as the assassin has both him and Raya, so a clean sheet for him means double the points for my rival. And yet I still feel I'm going to roll my transfer, because game week 29 looks even trickier than it originally did. I have 5 outfielders missing and only 2 free transfers. I can't bring in Cunha as planned because he's out. Dango Ouattara may not play. Unless I take a hit, I'm going to have to start an Ipswich defender. And the only way to get to Haaland and field 11 men without a hit is by selling Salah, which I don't particularly wish to do. Now I could take a hit and I could swap Trent, Palmer and Gakpo for Guardiola, Langer and Haaland, and that may well end up being what I do, but who knows what will happen between now and then. That's why rolling the transfer is by far the best move this week, even if it means our rivals claw back a few more points. Yes, it's a risk, but it's one I feel I'm gonna have to take, and you never achieve anything in this game without taking a few chances. If this season was just about the League of Gentlemen, then the running would be easy, but it's not. I'm playing for something far greater. I made a vow to play by the gentlemanly ways, to prove that they could go toe to toe with the algorithm acolyte, and to show the entire world the gentlemanly ways could come out on top.
Do I want to beat you on a personal level? Oh, hell yeah, I do.
Not only that, I need to prove that my videos are worth your time. I need to prove I can call out the best of the best and back up my words. I may not end this season as the world #1, but I need to prove to myself that I can beat the elite.
But on a professional level, which bleeds over in my personal existence,
my entire self-worth has become wrapped up in the results of this one season, and I need to prove to myself that I am good enough. I need to prove to myself that I am enough.
I need to beat you, Rock. I need it more than anything that you can ever imagine.
And to do that, I have to risk losing it all. I have to risk the ultimate FPL nightmare becoming reality. I have to risk being remembered as the Kevin Keegan of the League of Gentlemen, the dreamer who aimed for the moon and burnt up in the atmosphere. But maybe this time it'll be different. Maybe we can rewrite the stars, and this supernova will shoot across the sky and make all our dreams come true. Maybe these backward steps have been me pulling back my bow before firing that green arrow, the one that flies for 11 game weeks and hits that magical bullseye. After all, it is always darkest before the dawn, and every FPL nightmare must one day give way to the dream. But for my dream to come true, I must rediscover the player I was 2 months ago. I must break out from the swarm, and I simply must get back to stealing the honey from the hive mind. And if fighting on 2 fronts leaves me losing out on both, well then at least I'll have given it a damn good go. And yes, I am scared, but maybe what scares me the most is that I may well achieve what I set out to accomplish, and that I may somehow prove myself right. And maybe I don't beat the best this season, but one thing is for damn sure, they'll have to be at their best to beat me. And so ahead of the game week 28 where you really should roll your transfer, let me just say, may all your transfers be successes, may all your arrows be green, and may those FPL gods be in your favour. Help me break free of my fears by hitting those like and subscribe buttons, and we'll see you next time.
FPL Nightmare got me pulling out more, yeah. I'm the greatest football manager to ever grace the old armchair, but the FPL gods hate me, and no one seems to care that my points are only average, and my ranking is not fair.